watching State and Local again. I'm Anne Marie Battistone, and this is Norfolk Public Access. And my guest today is from the state, and that would be William O'Donnell, who is the Norfolk County Registrar of Deeds. And he's been interested in getting out and talking to people about the services, the modernization that has taken place on his watch, and some other little things that people need to be aware of regarding their how to get their deeds, and the Homestead Act. I think we were also talking about.
Yes. Well, Anne Marie, thanks very much for having me. The Norfolk County Registry of Deeds, it's located in Dedham, but Norfolk is one of the 28 communities that make up Norfolk County, and really it's an arm of government many people don't know about, but the mission of the Registry of Deeds is to record in an accurate and timely and secure manner community land records and make them accessible to the public. So when you think about it, the biggest asset most of us have are homes, and that's what the Registry of Deeds deals with, and so it's great to be on a show like yours that just goes out and talks about the biggest asset we have is our homes.
Well, let's talk about what you've done at the Registry of Deeds. You think you started in '02, and now it's been all computerized?
Yeah, well, yes. When I got there in 2002, there was sort of a paralysis of paper. It was a very, very busy economic time. But believe it or not, they didn't even have email at the registry. It wasn't that long ago. So the cornerstone of our modernization initiatives was bringing in a new computer system, a new document management system that allowed us to do instantaneous recording, which meant, under the new system, when you come there, you get a receipt, you get the book and page, you get everything. You run it like a business, and that's what I've tried to do. By way of background, much like a lot of people here locally, you get involved locally. I was fortunate enough to go to Xavier Brothers High School, and when I graduated from law school, Boston College Law School, I ran for planning board member in my hometown of Norwood, and town meeting member, and so you learn what government does right. I was lucky enough to be an assistant district attorney for Bill Delahunt, then district attorney. And when I went to school in Washington, D.C., I went to school down Georgetown University. I was really lucky to work for Congressman Joe Moakley. So what I've tried to do is take some of the public service experience you have, but I also was an attorney, and you run it like a business. So that's the approach I've tried to take at the registry, and I think modernizing it, that's what we're very proud of, because by bringing in that new computer system, it allowed, for instance, the employees to be more efficient. We brought in new computers, scanning equipment, so all these documents that get recorded get scanned in. And it really has provided a foundation to do, for instance, disaster recovery planning. That's a private sector. If you run a business, you better make sure you have business continuity planning or disaster recovery planning, and we've put some of that stuff into place.
What is that?
Well, what it is you got to assume what happens if something happens. For instance, we're at 649 High Street, a beautiful building, but it was built in 1903.
I know that.
So some of the steps that we've done to not only modernize the registry, but to protect the registry data and operations. When people record deeds to their homes, they want to make sure it's protected. Well, here's some of the things we've done to protect people's documents. First of all, by law, we have to microfilm, so we do microfilm. But we also, by putting this new computer system in, we do tape drive backups daily and weekly, and that gets sent to a disaster recovery site. Iron Mountain has a site, believe it or not, a renovated nuclear bunker just over the border in Rhode Island. Our microfilm gets sent to Iron Mountain in New York. We've put a new generator in. We were the first registry. There are 21 registry districts here in Massachusetts. We were the first registry to put a generator in, so that
Use the electric.
We stay operational. And when you think about it, when people
seems kind of basic. You were the first ones to.
Yeah. Well, government sometimes moves slowly, and that's what I mean. I've tried to take the approach of running it like a business, and so that was one aspect of when you're modernizing. Disaster recovery. And what we've also done, we're one of the first registries to now have a site off-site, not at 649 High Street, where we can conduct business if something happens at 649 High Street. Again, it would be a struggle. It's not the big, beautiful building that we have, but at least if something happens, we have plans in place and protocols in place so that we can keep business going. Because when you think about it, the biggest aspect, one of the biggest aspects of our economy, both here locally but nationally, is real estate. So, you know, if someone has the movers ready to go, they don't want to hear an excuse that these deeds can't get recorded. So we're very proud of not only initiating the modernization initiatives, but then taking it the next step. And
how far back can people find their deed online?
well, and you mentioned online. When we first came to the registry, there was no internet land record research. In fact, that's one of the things I'm most proud about is that, and when I say there's no I in team, borrowing sports metaphors. We have great, you know, great employees, great staff. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. So we're very proud for the first time in Norfolk County's history to have internet land record research. So you can go on our website, anyone can, www.norfolkdeeds.org. As a matter of fact, if you check that website, periodically we have training seminars. We open up the registry at 4:30 in the afternoon, and people can come in and we train them on how to look up information and what information, you know, how to search your deed. And again, we've tried to simplify our internet land record research. A lot of people say, hey, I just go on your site and I can look up the information. But to answer your question, we're very proud. Norfolk County was established in 1793. Governor John Hancock, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, was the governor that established Norfolk County. Norfolk's one of the 28 communities. And our records go back to 1793. So if you entered Book 1, Page 1, the first document from 1793 is viewable. Wow. And, you know, so we're very proud of that.
So mine would be on there too from 95.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I mean,
oh,
so
sure. So we worked our way backwards. So when, so we worked it back. First it was, you know, back to 1973, then 1956. So we've done this incrementally. But we're back to 1793, and plans that have gotten filed, we've scanned those in so they're viewable on the public. So all the documents, every document back to 1793. And when you think about it, it's...
Did the state fund that for you? That must have been pretty expensive to do, wasn't it? I mean, just the...
Part of it is through our budget. Part of it's through our budget, and part of it was getting the resources from the state to modernize it and to use it for improvements in technology and modernization initiatives. So, so it certainly has helped the businessmen. You know, let's face it. Many people might think the registry is just for the lawyers and the title examiners and the engineers. It's for everybody. Right. So. You still can come to the registry at 649 High Street because with the advances in technology, we have over 50 computers that people can come in and use, and they can look up the information on their own. So it's not just for the title examiners or the lawyers or the engineers. It's open to anybody. However, my dad, he climbed utility poles for the Boston Edison. He was a lineman for 38 years, and when you're telling him what you're doing, I remembered what he said. You know, remember, a lot of us don't know anything about computers, don't care to know anything about computers. So we do, we're glad we started it. We do have a customer service center where we have staff resources, and they can look up information. The direct number is 781-461-6101. And again, if you go on our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org, we have a lot of this information. But that's a place where people can go and look up, you know, not look up because they're not good on the computers. We have staff. Hey, you need a copy of your deed? If you want to check to see if your homestead has been recorded, was your mortgage paid off and a discharge recorded? That's what our customer service center is about. So it's available.
You know, I remember going to that building. I can't remember where I went yesterday, but I remember going there. I guess because it was the only house I'd ever bought, and I remember these high sort of counters, and there were people sort of in a central area. And I remember the great big windows, the big rounded.
Yes, it's a big record hall, and we've tried to take steps to improve it. Each of the towns, Norfolk was great. We got town flags, and we have all 28 communities. The flags have been are in the record hall, and I have to thank the historical societies and historical commissions because when we redid not only the record hall, but we did down where the closings take place. Each of the towns the historical commissions and historical societies sent us a historical picture, which we've blown up and put all around to try to make it a little more welcoming.
Something to look at while you're standing there.
Yes.
Rather than take the newspaper, because I remember standing in line for quite a while.
Yeah.
Which probably doesn't happen
Well,
so much anymore.
no, and that was one of the reasons it needed to be modernized. Because I remember I used the Registry of Deeds, and you're right, there were lines. With the advances in technology and more efficiencies, we've eliminated wait times. When I got there, there was literally a year's worth of mail sitting in boxes with checks in there, ready to be recorded. And most of the money that we collect goes to the state. Well, we finally got it on, but that's why we needed to bring that new computer system, new document management system. You had to run it like a business. And a lot of the money, most of the monies we collect go into the state general fund, where you're talking about local aid, you're talking about money for public safety, you're talking about money for education. So again, you know, these were some of the changes that needed to be done, and we did them. And we continue to do them. One of the things we're doing now, and we were one of the first registries in Massachusetts to do this, was electronic recording, where an attorney, say in Norfolk, can be doing the closing at their office, have everybody there. They can go online, they can check to make sure there's no liens, and then they transmit the closing package to our office where we record it. So we love people coming to 649 from the bank or from their office. Their office. A lot of them are signing up. So the closing attorney, that lawyer, can send it from their office and
they have to set up their own software.
Yeah. Well, that gets done for them. But yeah, it sets up. They have to sign up for the service of doing it.
Now, I wondered, that was sort of interesting. I thought this was kind of clever. Dirty deeds not done cheap. I thought it was pretty.
Well, that was a Boston Herald thing.
That was a British.
Yeah,
oh, this is. Oh.
People thought I did something wrong with that title, but
it's just like the Herald.
Yeah, they did a story on that article, and it's still happening. So it's great that you have a show like yours. There are groups out there, and at the time, when the Herald did that story, it was $59. Now there's a group out there doing it for $83. They are soliciting consumers, soliciting residents here in Norfolk and around the county, and saying, hey, we'll get you one group will actually get you a certified copy of your deed. The other will just get you a copy of your deed. And if you need a certified copy, go directly to the Registry of Deeds. At most, it costs $1 a page. Most deeds are 2 pages. It's $2. And when we do office hours, in fact, we were at the Norfolk Town Hall, we certify them for free. Now, don't pay $83 for something that you can get for $2.
Would the people that would go for this, are they older people that feel like they can't get in there, or they don't want to?
You know what? We see it's more the younger first-time home buyers
really?
who are getting these solicitations.
Wow.
They target a broad group, but also there's a lot of, in some of the communities, there are immigrants buying houses,
right.
and they're getting targeted. And yes, the elderly. But what they're really targeting is, it may be illegal. I've written to the attorney generals, both the new one and the old one, and it may be legal, but I still think it's unconscionable for what they're doing, because the latest scam, and I call it the deed scam, is it looks like a bill. It looks like a real estate tax bill for $83.
Oh,
now they make it. They put a little line there that says this isn't a bill,
right.
But again, I think they're taking advantage of the good graces of people. I used to work as an assistant district attorney. It's amazing what the scams that people get done. So it's great you bring it up, because even though this story there was a big article in the Boston Herald.
How long ago was this? Do you remember?
That was probably about 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But
not that long.
Channel 4 actually did a news article on it. WBZ came by and did it on the radio, and the reason why I mentioned it is it's still happening. So no matter the publicity that we put out there that, listen, there are groups out there that are trying to take advantage of you, come to the registry if you need a certified copy of your deed, but don't be paying someone $83 for something that, where they come? They go to us. They pay us the $2, and they're making a lot of money on it.
So now, but suppose somebody doesn't want to go in, they want to send somebody else in. What do? They need a power of attorney? What do they need to do that? To come
No,
and get somebody else's deed?
actually, if someone wants it, they can go on our website. We outline the process. If it's a 2-page deed, they could send the money to us directly and we can do it. Or they can check online, because a lot of times, and again, it's the beauty of the modernization that we've done. When I first started office hours, I used to have to do it like when I worked for Congressman Moakley, write everything down, go back to the registry. Now we can bring the computers with us, so if people watch our website and they see that we're in Norfolk or one of the communities, come on by and we can just go online, look it up, and certify it. Otherwise, you can either come by 649 High Street and go into the customer service center and do it, or you could just write us a note, and I need it certified. And you don't need a power of attorney or anything. Some people, just...
So if they sent somebody in for them, they would
They'd
sign
say,
a note?
They don't even have to sign a note. They just say, hey, I just need a certified copy of,
for so-and-so's,
Mrs. and my mother's deed or my neighbor's deed, and we just, because it's a public record, they would.
So even if it was none of their business, they could actually go in there and get it.
And again, with advances in technology, people can look up the stuff online, and I want to be clear. These were always public records. We're still one of the few registries that print books. When I was first started as registrar, we were at book 17,000. We're at book 38,000. And these books have 600 pages in it.
I remember seeing that book.
So people can come in and look it up. So all this by law is a public record. So it's yes.
I remember that book. I remember that great big book.
But we have a new initiative that we're just rolling out now. It's called the Consumer Notification Project, where consumers can opt in, and it's on our website, where you can get an email notice if your name comes up. So in other words, my name's Bill O'Donnell. I signed up. So if anything Bill O'Donnell gets recorded, I get an email from the Registry of Deeds. Now, it may not involve me. I look it up.
That means
I can
you would
look
know
it up.
somebody else had come in to look at your records, or even though it's
No,
public?
if it was recorded. And we're borrowing on things. There are other jurisdictions.
It claimed that you bought something.
Yeah, in other words, we don't see it as much here. In fact, you don't see it much in Massachusetts, but we keep in contact with registers across the country where people are actually recording deeds and almost stealing people's homes. We don't see that here, but you know what? We're trying to, again, as a elected official, but as someone trying to run an operation like a business, trying to stay ahead of the game. So this sign-up means if, just say something got recorded, I can look it up. Oh, it has nothing to do with me. It's Bill O'Donnell from Quincy as opposed to Bill O'Donnell from Norfolk. But it gives you a heads up. If all of a sudden I look and it has something to do with my property, I can get on it in a more timely manner.
Now, would that happen more in the South, where you had all those big tracts of lands and plantations that got split up, and families and that sort of
the South,
different
believe
families?
it or not, a lot of this came out of Cooks County, which is Chicago. That we keep in contact through associations and things like that. And so I saw what was being done in other jurisdictions, and I said, well, if it's happening in other jurisdictions, it's only a matter of time. Almost like that deed scam,
Right.
It's only a matter of time before people start moving into your jurisdiction and doing these things. But it's a nice way. You can sign up and you get an email, and the way it's working now, most people say, you know what, it doesn't even involve me, and it's just another layer of a notification, because some people you'd rather know sooner than later. So you can, and we have a list of the authorities at the local level as well as the FBI and at the state level that can be contacted should all of a sudden there's a fraudulent document being recorded.
People can come in and get a packet like you gave me, and it looks like it has a convergence of a transactional document, online research guide, a computer-assisted research guide.
Sure.
And then weren't you going to also talk about the Homestead
Yes, well,
Act?
Some of the consumer issues, and I think we've hit the consumer issues to watch out for, deed scams. Although one thing that has been targeted for the elderly, there's a group out there that sends letters to the elderly for $15 and sometimes more. They'll give you a form, but they won't fill it out, the homestead form. If people need forms, they're available online on our website if they want, or in these green packages, we have them. But the homestead is a great consumer protection, and it's something people should consider having. The state legislature in Chapter 188 has allowed people to declare an estate a homestead, which protects their home against a forced sale. There's been some changes. Some changes went into effect March 16, 2011, where for the first time, and our state delegation should be thanked, for the first time, there's an automatic homestead. So if you do nothing, you at least have $125,000 worth of protection, but it gets apportioned amongst who owns it.
To get more,
Yes, you have to declare it, and they made some changes. If I own the property with my spouse, me and my spouse have to sign on to this. And when I first became Register of Deeds, it was $300,000 worth of protection. But now it's $500,000 worth of protection. And the filing fee, which again is set by the state legislature, is relatively modest, so it's really worth doing. I'm an attorney by training. You talk to 10 different attorneys, you probably get 10 different opinions on subjects. But with respect to the homestead, I'd say 9.9 out of 10 would say record a homestead. And why? Well, certainly if you don't pay your taxes to the local government, a homestead's not going to help you. But you might get into a car accident where you hurt someone really badly, and that case is worth $700,000, and you only have not as much insurance to cover it. Well, that injured party is going to look to your assets, and one of your biggest assets is your home to, satisfy their harm, their injury. So for that reason alone, in that situation alone, it's probably worth having a homestead.
Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the situation with your principal residence and the nursing homes and all that business.
No, well, the homestead only, no, if you have a homestead and you get state assistance, the state can still come in. But you're right in one sense. The homestead only applies to people for their principal residence. So, if you live and it's your principal residence, you have a right to declare an estate a homestead. And there's no age to it. If you're lucky enough, I wasn't lucky enough at 18 years old to own a house, but if you're 18 and you own that house and that's your principal residence, you have a right to declare an estate a homestead. And it's good as long as you are living in that house as your principal residence. If you, for instance, sold your house and wanted to downsize and you bought another house, you have to declare an estate of homestead, a declaration of homestead for that new property.
Now, what if you yourself were in, say, long-term or short-term care or rehab, and you're not living in the house anymore? Does that make a difference?
It still applies. That becomes to the intent. If I intend to get back there.
Right.
So again, that would be refereed by case law and by the courts. But having a homestead protects you. For instance, if you have a homestead and you sell your house, it protects the proceeds of that sale, again for a limited period of time, 1 year. But it protects it so that creditors don't come in and swoop it. Or just say your house burnt down and you got a casualty insurance check to rebuild your house. If you have a declaration of homestead recorded at the registry, it protects those proceeds, again, for a limited period of time, in that case 2 years, so that creditors can't come in and go after your money.
But they would still have access to it after that time period if they have...
Well, if the money's there. I always tell people when we talk about the homestead doesn't stop people from chasing you. If there are debts or judgments, they're going to chase you. But what the homestead does is sort of put the house off limits, sort of puts a picket fence around your principal residence that, hey, we can't force the sale of this house to satisfy some of these obligations. Obviously, if you don't pay the bank, you can be foreclosed and sold out. But again, it's great being on your show because a lot of people, I think more and more people are being aware of the homestead. But I remember when my father never had a homestead on. He goes, and it was around back then. People just didn't know about it, and I think it's great that to just go out and educate people about some of the things that they should look at, because the biggest asset we have is our homes.
Because I got my attorney told me to get it. I said okay, and it wasn't a lot of money, but I didn't really know all the ins and outs.
No, it's great protection. And another consumer issue is, when you borrow money, we have mortgage. The bank records a mortgage to make sure that they get paid, just make sure when you pay off that mortgage that there's a mortgage discharge, that it gets recorded.
Yes, right.
Now, a lot of times the banks, especially the bigger banks, weren't so good about sending those discharges in. They're getting better. But I know the local,
like they should.
Yeah, they should. The local community banks are great. I'm a big believer in community banking. I'm sure if there's a missing discharge and you've paid it off, you could go to the local community bank. But it's just something to be aware of,
right.
you know. And we have on our website and in our handouts a document that says, "Where has my bank gone?"
Yes, this is what I was going to ask you about next. Speaking of banks.
Yeah, it gives you.
What is this?
Yeah, well, that document gives some state and federal websites if you have to track down where your bank is gone, because people forget in the 1990s some banks went out of business, other banks have merged.
Right.
So if you have to, if you find yourself in that troublesome position of trying to get a discharge, we're just trying to provide some resources so you can track down your bank and get that mortgage discharge, which tells the world that your debt was paid off.
So it looks like here's one here, helpwithmybank.gov.
Yeah.
And I guess they could call the registry and maybe you would send
Yeah,
this.
we have this online actually,
Oh,
and,
all right.
and we do have it. You know, a lot of these handouts that you have, we go to, you know, and that's part of our community outreach. We go to the senior centers. We leave them there at some of the town halls have taken them. So we have our information, but everything you have is actually also available on our website. But if people have any questions, they can call our customer service number or contact me directly.
We'll put
I'm
that
at
on the,
Register
on
O'Donnell,
screen.
you know, at norfolkdeeds.org.
And we just have a couple of minutes. I was curious about the historic documents on record, and you've got the John Adams, the second president, bequeathed a tract of land to his son, the sixth president, to John Quincy.
Well, we have great history. As I said, the county goes back to 1793. We're the county of presidents. We have 4 presidents born here in Norfolk County, the 2 Adamses you mentioned. We have John Kennedy in Brookline, and believe it or not, George Bush Sr. was born in Milton. So there's a lot of history in the documents. So people do it for business purposes, but we see a lot of people doing it for genealogical and historical purposes, coming to the registry or going online to look up a lot of the great information that's there.
Now, this is on the Quincy document. This is the first of 4 pages of Book 21, page 3. So there were 20 books before this.
Yes, because this was 1803. Norfolk County was established in 1793, so this was Book 21. We're up to Book 38,000. Oh. Interestingly, from
now, is this preserved somewhere under glass, or
well,
is it just in the book?
They've been reproduced into the books. The scriveners used to write them up. So we're still one of the few registries that print the books. I don't want to be the first register in Norfolk County to stop, but some registers have. But if you go to Book 1, Page 1, you can look up the document, or you can go online and look up the document. It's handwritten, and we have a project now that we're going forward where we're trying to type out all the handwritten documents. So you can actually hit a button, and the typed version of that handwritten version will come out, because from 1793 to 1900, they hand wrote all the documents out.
Right, it's meticulous handwriting.
Yes, you had to have
you
good
don't
penmanship.
See that much anymore.
I went to parochial school. The nuns would be very proud of the penmanship.
Well,
there.
even in public school, I mean, I taught school for 34 years, and I mean, they just print. Yeah. They don't know how to write cursively.
No.
And that's in the public school.
The Palmer method, remember?
Exactly, that's right.
I'm dating myself. I'm dating myself.
Oh, well, listen, this has been very informative. So we're going to put the phone number up that it was the 781-461-6116. And that's
that if you want to call me, or customer service is 781-461-6101.
All righty. Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. This was very informative. We like to have these kinds of, sort of public outreach shows, because people don't always know and understand, all this stuff. And it's nice to have the registrar himself come and talk about it.
Well, no, thanks for having me. It's great.
Oh, so thank you so
All
much
right,
for
yeah,
coming.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
And thank you for watching State and Local on Norfolk Public Access. I'm Anne Marie Battistone. My guest today was William O'Donnell, who is the Register of Norfolk County, Register of Deeds of Norfolk County. So we'll see you next time. We're going to have some interviews with candidates, and I just wanted to mention I have made an effort to get out to everybody if they wish to come on the show. So I just wanted to say that. So again, thank you so much
Thanks
for coming.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I had a great time. Thank you.
All righty, great. Okay.